The movie kicks off in Minnesota back in 1983. You immediately get the sense something dark is happening. A guy is in his apartment sharpening a knife with intense focus, carefully lining up all his weapons into a bag. Every move he makes screams trouble, a classic serial killer vibe. As he steps outside, he spots a woman standing in a phone booth. His eyes lock on her, and he zeroes in, clearly seeing her as his next target. He casually walks up and offers her a ride. Her name's Carrie. When she nods and climbs into his car, he can't hide his excitement. But things don't go the way he expected. Carrie, quick as lightning, stabs him repeatedly, over 20 times, leaving him completely overwhelmed. That's how the film sets the tone. Violent, tense, and unpredictable. Meanwhile, we meet Joel. He's a horror movie critic, working for a magazine called Vicious Fanatics. He's interviewing a director named Jack Portwood, who's famous for making weird, disturbing films. Joel isn't just there to ask polite questions. He challenges Jack's opinions about horror films, even pitching his own wild idea, a story about a cab driver who's secretly a killer. Jack laughs him off and promptly kicks him out, leaving Joel frustrated but still buzzing from the conversation. Back at his place, Joel's life seems pretty ordinary. He has a roommate, Sarah, who he secretly likes. But when she comes home with her new boyfriend, things get awkward. Sarah is cheerful but straightforward. She tells Joel she's having a girls' night and politely suggests he go out for a while. Joel obeys, feeling a mix of disappointment and longing. Outside, he notices Bob, Sarah's boyfriend, and decides to tail him to a nearby Chinese restaurant. Wanting to hide his identity, Joel introduces himself as Dave and starts chatting with Bob. He guesses that Bob must be married behind the scenes, but Bob laughs and explains that the wedding ring he wears is just a sales gimmick for real estate. Joel is surprised to hear Bob talking trash about him, revealing that Sarah only lets him stay at the apartment out of pity. Things get worse when Bob leaves with another girl, and Joel is left with the restaurant bill. Heartbroken and a little drunk, Joel makes a call to Sarah from a payphone, trying to get some connection with her. That's when fate steps in again. He bumps into Carrie, the same woman from earlier. The timing is uncanny. Later, Joel wanders into a storage closet, exhausted and dizzy from all the drama, and passes out. When he wakes up, the restaurant is closed for the night, and he stumbles back into the dining area, only to find something completely unexpected. A strange meeting is going on. The people in the room, Zachary, Mike, Hideo, Fritz, and Carrie, immediately assume Joel is a guy named Phil, the newest member of their group. Thinking it's some kind of odd therapy circle, Joel plays along, mentioning vaguely that he's struggling with an addiction just to fit in. As the conversation continues, Joel slowly pieces together the truth. He's surrounded by actual serial killers. They all have their own chilling personalities. Mike is brash and obsessive. Hideo seems unsettled, and Fritz has this unnerving calmness. Carrie, surprisingly, appears the least threatening at first. When they ask Joel why he's there, panic sets in. He blurts out his cab driver killer story, pretending it's his own. To his relief, the killers seem intrigued, and for a brief moment, he feels a sliver of safety. But things take a sharp turn during a break. Joel tries to sneak away, but loud banging stops him. Zachary urges him to open the door, and Joel does, only to find Bob standing there. Bob, who still thinks Joel is Dave, is thrilled to see him again. Now trapped in front of actual killers, Joel has to keep up his story about being Phil. Bob presses him with questions, trying to uncover the details of his methods. Joel struggles, desperately sticking to the cab driver story, but Bob isn't buying it. The rest of the group grows suspicious too. In a tense moment, Bob locks the door, and Joel finally has to admit the truth. He's not Phil. He tries to make a run for it, but Bob tackles him to the floor, leaving him completely trapped. As panic fills the room, the killers argue over what to do with Joel. Zachary, always full of himself, brags about his experience and the hundreds of people he's killed. Mike, fed up with Zachary's arrogance, suddenly stabs him in the neck. Hideo and Fritz finish him off, leaving the room in chaos. Seizing the opportunity, Carrie kicks Joel into the kitchen and slams the door behind them. That's when she drops a bombshell. She's not a serial killer at all. She's an undercover assassin, working for a secret organization that hunts and eliminates serial killers. While the others wait outside, assuming she's about to kill Joel, she explains the horrifying truth. Each member of this group is responsible for a significant chunk of unsolved murders across North America. Hideo is a cannibalistic chef, turning human flesh into gourmet dishes. Mike is a violent brute with deep psychological issues, preying on college-aged victims. Fritz is emotionless, always wearing clown makeup while killing. But Bob is the deadliest, a brilliant sociopath with a genius-level IQ who uses professional disguises to lure victims. With the killers starting to converge on the kitchen, Carrie quickly comes up with a plan. She shows Joel the dismembered body of Phil, the fake new recruit she killed earlier, and coaches him on how to stay alive. Meanwhile, Hideo tries sneaking in through the ceiling vents, while Fritz moves to the back door with a key, attempting to break in. Carrie, hiding in the shadows, grabs a meat cleaver, ready for action. Hideo drops into the kitchen, discovering Joel lying face down next to Phil's guts. Fritz reaches in through the door, only for Carrie to chop off his fingers. Joel hurls Phil's intestines at Hideo, who responds by throwing a knife that narrowly misses Joel. Just in time, Carrie attacks, using the intestines to strangle Hideo to death. After the chaos settles, Joel and Carrie catch their breath, but the danger isn't over. Bob, still relentless, finds Joel's driver's license, realizing Joel's real identity. Bob finally figures out Joel's real connection. He's Sarah's roommate. A sinister smirk spreads across Bob's face as he threatens Joel, hinting that Sarah's life might be in danger. Without thinking twice, Joel yanks the fire alarm, hoping to create a distraction before things spiral completely out of control. But Bob isn't one to be caught off guard. With a genius-level mind clocking in at an IQ of 180, he instantly flips the situation. He calls the cops, spinning a story that makes Carrie sound like a dangerous intruder and himself make Joel appear as her accomplice. Meanwhile, Carrie quietly goes through her list, calmly crossing off Hideo's name. He's next to go. When the police finally arrive, Joel and Carrie play along, acting as though they're the ones in trouble. The rest of the killers, Bob, Mike, Fritz, and Hideo, sit in a car nearby, watching everything unfold with unnerving calm. At the station, Joel tries desperately to explain the truth about the killers, but the detectives dismiss him, thinking he's just telling wild stories. Carrie warns them about the real threat still on the loose, but no one takes her seriously. Joel even tries calling Sarah to warn her, but she brushes it off, thinking he's overreacting, and hangs up after telling him she's coming to get him. Things get physical fast. Carrie suddenly lunges at Joel, punching him square in the face. The cops respond by locking both of them in a holding cell. Inside, Carrie apologizes, explaining that she just needed a quick distraction to swipe a paperclip, a small but vital part of her plan. While that's happening, Bob shows up at the station dressed like a detective, pretending he's there to handle the case. Joel immediately recognizes him and tries to alert the officers, but, as usual, no one believes him. Bob smugly accuses Carrie of being unstable and leaves, giving her a chilling look before walking out. Meanwhile, Bob smoothly schmoozes the officers, sharing drinks and acting casual. He manages to sneak away Carrie's confiscated notebook, the one that holds her hit list and proof of her secret mission. Fritz, on the other hand, sneaks behind a lone officer at a desk and injects him with a paralyzing agent. The officer doesn't get a chance to react. Fritz finishes him off in a horrifyingly quick move, driving a nail into his forehead and dragging the body away. Just then, the lights in the station go out. One officer cautiously checks the power panel, only for Mike to appear and slice off his hand with a machete before finishing the job. With two officers down, Bob handles the last one, using pencils as weapons and killing him instantly by jabbing them into his ears. By the time Bob, Mike, and Fritz move toward the holding cells, they realize Carrie and Joel are already gone. Carrie leads Joel toward the exit, but she stops him, insisting he leave without her. At first, Joel refuses, but Carrie's determined. She's going to face the killers alone, and there's nothing he can do to change her mind. Mike enters a room, expecting no one to be there, but is startled by what seems to be a mannequin. Carrie uses the opportunity to ambush him, pressing his own machete to his neck and taking him down swiftly, ending his life with a quick stab to the face. Sarah arrives at the police station soon after, her frantic knocking catching Fritz's attention. Excited at new prey, Fritz unlocks the door and lets her in. Sarah steps inside, confused by the eerie silence, when the lights suddenly flick on to reveal Fritz. She's startled, but she doesn't freeze. She fights back until Joel rushes to her aid. Carrie bursts in and injects Fritz with his own paralyzing serum. He collapses instantly, and Carrie wastes no time crushing him with a heavy cabinet. As they prepare to escape, Bob sneaks up from behind and stabs Carrie. Joel jumps in to shield her, taking a stab to his arm in the process. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he strikes back, finally knocking Bob out. Joel immediately hauls Carrie to Sarah's car, rushing her to the hospital. Just as they prepare to leave, Bob reappears in front of the car. Joel doesn't hesitate. He hits the gas, slamming into Bob and sending him crashing to the ground. The trio speeds away, heading straight for the hospital. At the hospital, doctors remove the dagger from Joel's arm, but Carrie remains unconscious in her bed. Meanwhile, Bob, ever the master manipulator, disguises himself as a doctor and sneaks into the building. Later, Joel steps out to get water, only to notice a trail of blood leading across the floor. Alarmed, he rushes back to Carrie's room and finds Bob poised with a scalpel over her. At the last second, Carrie regains consciousness, and Joel knocks Bob off balance. A brutal fight erupts. Bob swings a knife, but Carrie jumps in, stabbing him repeatedly in the gut before finishing him off with a deadly strike straight through his eye. With Bob finally dead, Joel and Carrie can finally breathe. They escape the hospital, with Sarah watching her once awkward roommate step into a completely new chapter of life. Later, Joel goes to a movie theater, only to be stunned to see a poster for a film called Taxi Cab Driller. His wild idea has been turned into an actual movie. At the snack counter, the employee tells him the place is closed for the season. Suspicious, Joel investigates and discovers the real worker tied up in the bathroom, gagged and helpless. The imposter tries to run, but Carrie hurls an axe into his head, ending him instantly. Before leaving, Joel grabs some snacks for himself and Carrie. As they drive away, the theater burns behind them, flames illuminating the path ahead. They ride off into the night, ready for whatever adventure comes next. The story ends with a feeling of closure, triumph, and a hint of dark humor. Joel's life has changed forever, and he's finally stepping into his own power, side by side with Carrie.